The cognitive benefits of interacting with nature. The objective of this study was to determine the restorative cognitive effects of interaction with nature versus urban environments. This study utilized two experiments to display walking in nature or simply viewing pictures of nature and how that can improve directed attention abilities, thus validating attention restoration therapy. Attention restoration therapy is based on research separating attention into two components. The first is involuntary, which is captured by inherently intriguing/important stimuli. The second is voluntary, which is directed by cognitive control processes. According to ART, interacting with environments rich with inherently fascinating stimuli, for example sunsets, invoke involuntary attention modestly, allowing direct attention mechanisms a chance to replenish. Because urban settings contain distractors which capture attention dramatically and require directed attention processing, they are less effective in allowing a recharge of attentional resources. The first experiment from this research utilized data comprised from 38 subjects, 23 of which were female, 15 of which were male, with a mean age of 22.62 years. Positive and negative affect scale was used to assess the mood of participants. Experimenters utilized a backwards digit span task as an assay of directed attention performance. Participants heard digit sequences and were required to repeat them in reverse order. Participants were given a directed forgetting task involving the suppression of information in short-term memory to further fatigue their mental resources. Subjects then randomly assigned to take 50 to a 55-minute walk in a prearranged natural or urban setting. GPS was used to ensure the routes taken were exactly the same. After the walk, participants were then subjected to the same tasks. 1 week later, subjects returned and repeated the process, but walked in the complementary location. Researchers conducted a repeated measures of analysis of variance with two within subject variables, before walk versus after walk, and walking location. The results showed that performance on backwards digit span significantly improved after participants walked in nature, but not when they walked in an urban setting. Results were not driven by mood or weather conditions. There were no main effects or interactions associated with walking order, whether the participants walked in nature in the first week or in the second week. Also, the season of the nature walk, whether it was summer, winter, spring, or fall, had no impact on the participants' results. The second experiment utilized data collected from 12 subjects, 8 of which were female, 4 of which were male, with a mean age of 24.25 years. The same positive and negative affect scale and backwards digit span task were used as in experiment 1. Also, this experiment administered attentional network test to test or measure altering, orienting, and executive attention, predicted Only executive functions would benefit from exposure to nature because of their relative required amount of cognitive control. After performing these tasks, participants viewed pictures of either natural or urban settings exclusively for roughly 10 minutes. After viewing, the same tests were administered to measure differences in performance. Participants returned 1 week later and performed the same procedures but viewed the complementary set of pictures. The results of the second experiment verified predictions that improvements were only found in executive cognitive functions and only after participants viewed pictures of nature. Also, as with experiment 1, no main effects or interactions associated with picture viewing, as in nature pictures viewed in week 1 or week 2, both had benefits. It didn't matter which week they were viewed. Furthermore, the results of experiment 2 extended the results of experiment 1. Taken together, the results clearly display the restorative value of nature as a vehicle to improve cognitive functioning. However, only directed attention or executive attention mechanisms were replenished by either walking in nature or viewing images of nature. It is also important to note that participants consciously recognized the restorative value of natural settings and reported this to the researchers, and this was validated in the test results of both experiment 1 and experiment 2 of this study. In conclusion, this study leads us to infer that simple and brief interactions with nature can produce marked increases in cognitive control, and as such, nature plays a vital role in cognitive function. Does the overall coherence and complexity of the landscape in a natural scene have a direct effect on the restorative properties of the scene? For example, would a random scattering of plants or animals have a different effect than, say, a garden? Does the climate of the natural setting matter in regards to the restorative properties? For example, would a desert have the same effect as a temperate forest? If something within the natural setting required executive attention, for example, seeking shelter from rain and lightning, would the restorative properties of that setting change? Are some environmental preferences genetic, and if so, do they affect or shape our choices in artificially inserting natural scenery in urban environments? For example, the practice of planting a single tree in an urban setting to mimic the psychologically calming effects of an acacia tree in a field.